Everybody, welcome to the Freedom Network. My name is Gary Rosenberg, your host, and so glad that you decided to join us once again. Here we are, talking politics. We got a lot of stuff to talk about today. We got a guest coming on via the phone. We've got emails. We've got petitions. We got all kinds of stuff. But I want to really thank you for deciding to tune in to us tonight, debate night. Actually, some debating going on now. Some of you may be flipping back and forth. 8 o'clock is the big show. We'll talk about that a little bit. We're going to talk about legalizing marijuana a little bit. We're going to talk about some of the other ballot questions. We're going to talk about what happened in our town here last night toward the end of the show. Couple technical difficulties, but glad that you decided to join us. Live is live, and that's what we do here. We do it live, so sometimes things happen. But better a little bit late than never. Unless you disagree with me, then I'm sure you're very happy that it's late. Anyway, we got some emails coming in. Want to give a couple shout-outs to a few of our emailers. Let them get out onto the air, as we say. We take 4 or 5 every week, but we can't, unfortunately, take them all. All right, so let's see what we've got here. New listeners. First, shout out to new listeners, or viewers, I should say. See, that radio is always in me. I mean, I used to do the radio. I used to do the radio thing all the time, day in, day out, full-time job. And no matter how much you're on TV, I always think listeners as opposed to viewers. So anyway, new viewers down in the Bridgewater area, Lauren and McKenna, checking out the Freedom Network. So glad that you decided to do so. New viewer alert. Thank you very much, Lauren, McKenna. Happy to have you here. Love your comments. timagary@gmail.com. If there's anything that you decide that you want to say, just email it right to me. You can get me a private message or a message that you want to put out over the air. Anybody. If you don't want your name used, just say, don't use my name. timagary@gmail.com is how you get a hold of me. Facebook group, just email me for a link. It is the Freedom Network, but there's a few of them. So if you want the one that we're on, let me know. We'll check that out. All right, Fred says, Gary, interesting guest on cable company. Is anyone doing anything about this? Well, Fred, we're looking into it. That's what I can tell you at this point. We're starting to look into it. We're training the eyes of the Freedom Network on it. We're trying to build a little quick coalition of maybe interested people, get some information around, and see if we can't maybe move forward and cause Charter a little bit of aggravation, because they've certainly done the same to us here. Let's see. Paul says, Gary, Charter sucks. Can I say that? I'm sorry if it was live on the air and I can't, but that's what the guy said. What do you want from me? All right, Kevin. Kevin says Obama has become the weakest figure in the world and on the world stage. Kevin goes on to say he got owned by Russia. America doesn't get owned by Russia, says Kevin. Well, Kevin, I got to agree with you. America shouldn't get owned by Russia or anybody else. What we have seen is just absolutely terrible. It's terrible. It really is. I can't believe, to be quite honest with you, how we have gone from, just since I was, let's say in the 5th, 6th, 7th grade, somewhere in there, right? Let's say let's say back in the 80s, right? Maybe even the early 80s. We had stature. When we spoke, people listened. Nobody's listening. Nobody's listening. It's just simply awful. That's what it is. It's awful. Emails are pouring in. Good. Very nice to see everybody out there. We'll get to them if we can. Let's see. Jessica. All right. Jessica, I have to give a little disclaimer about your email, of course. This is an into the mind of a real, I won't even say liberal. I'll say, Jessica, you may be like a socialist or something like that, Jessica. And I'm puzzled by it, Jessica, but I will continue to read your emails and I will continue to respond to them, because I tell you all opinions are welcome. I mean it. So here is yours. Gary, I voted for Obama twice and will vote for Hillary Clinton this time. You're not nuts. There is a move to change America. More government is good. People need to be controlled or they do bad things. Jessica, I'm not going to comment. I'm going to let your comments stand on their own. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to let them stand on their own. Amy says, Gary, just hit it out of the park again. America first, Second Amendment, equality, Constitution first, freedom of choice, small government. I love your show. It's fantastic. Please keep up the good work. Amy, I will do just that. I will keep up the good work, Amy. I'm not owned by anybody. Let me tell you right now, I am not owned by anybody. Nobody. Sometimes I agree with one party, sometimes with the other. You know how you can always find out where Gary's going to stand? What does the Constitution say? That's how you know what Gary's going to say. All right, so with no further ado, do I have Bay State repeal on the line? All right, let me hit the magic button here and get this one going. Let's see if I do this correct. All right, anyway, we're going to be joined by a guy named Stephen Epstein. He's with Bay State Repeal. We're going to get some information about what they're doing. As you know, we've been on a quest to find out about these ballot initiatives, and it's so important. There's, 24, I think, states in the union. Maybe I'm off. But something in that area that you can actually even do this, and we should exercise our rights to put things on our ballots and vote on them and get the people involved. So no further ado, Stephen Epstein, Bay State Repeal, are you with us here on the Freedom Network?
I am, Gary. Nice to be here.
Oh, it's fantastic that you decided to join us. We're happy to have you. We want to explore all of these ballot questions, and can you give us a synopsis of what is Bay State Repeal? What is it?
Bay State Repeal is a legislation modeled after a 1930 initiative petition that repealed Massachusetts' Little Volstead Act. And our design is to repeal the state's prohibition, and then we put in place a regulatory and taxation system that we believe is best suited for Massachusetts and best suited to keep it away from children.
Okay, and so what we're talking about then is legalizing marijuana. We're talking about, let me ask you, who's endorsing this? What kind of traction are you getting? Where are you getting it from, Steve?
Well, our traction is coming mostly from just 25 years of organizing the consumers and educating the public about how insane prohibiting adults from engaging in marijuana cultivation, possession, use, and commerce when all you're doing is making it far easier for the children to get. You're giving it a forbidden fruit aspect, which attracts good kids, even good kids, to experiment, and is at cross purposes with what Declaration of Rights of the Massachusetts Constitution say is the purpose of government.
So,
Will enable us in peace and tranquility to enjoy our natural rights, amongst which may be considered life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
I'm going to tell you, there is a difference. Pardon me, I'm sorry, Steve. There is a difference between, and I've been really, trying to read up on this, and a lot of the arguments go, well, booze is legal. Nobody robs, we should keep cocaine illegal, for instance, or crack, because people hurt other people to obtain these things. But when it comes down to marijuana, it seems as though it's a personal choice. Now, some people may agree that they should. Look, there's people that don't drink. There's people that but what seems to me is that we have a situation where you've got the Constitution, that, like you say, does guarantee you certain rights. I don't know if in the Constitution it says you have the right to many things that we feel we have the right to, but the Constitution doesn't really tell us what we can do. It really tells us what the government can't do, in my opinion, and it doesn't say you can't. So I definitely, and it doesn't say it in our state constitution anyway. But what about the federal law?
What about the federal law? In 1930, Massachusetts repealed its Little Volstead Act, left it to the feds to enforce.
So is that what we would be doing here? The federal law wouldn't change.
We would not be leaving it totally to the feds to enforce. We're setting up a system whereby those who want to sell it have to register with the Department of Revenue. They have to get a storefront in a legitimately zoned commercial district. They have to only permit persons over the age of 21 into their room. The marijuana can't be visible from the street.
Okay, so it's
the marijuana, if it's being turned into products, is subject to regulation by the Department of Public Health, like any other food that's being manufactured. So the local boards of health go into these places and make sure they're sanitary, and that and from time to time the DPH would buy samples, test them, and make sure that they're properly labeled. All of these things exist in current law in Massachusetts. There's no reason to reinvent that total wheel.
Stephen, is this going to be taxed? Are we going to get tax revenue out of this for the state?
Well, the tax revenue, we're taxing it at 6.25%. 12.5% of that would go to the controlled strike that would go to the Substance Abuse Treatment Fund, which hasn't received a dime since the people repealed the sales tax on alcoholic beverages, and another 12.5% goes to the Agricultural Resolve and Security Fund to help Massachusetts farmers, because we expect that under our law, Massachusetts farmers and not out-of-state interests coming in and farming indoors, but Massachusetts farmers with greenhouses and whatnot will be the source of the commercially sold marijuana.
So it's gonna have a 6.5% tax. Is that just the sales tax you're talking about, or is there a 6.5% tax on top of the sales tax?
Oh, that's just the sales tax. No
Okay.
additional taxes. The higher the taxes, Gary, as I'm sure you understand, the higher the taxes, the easier it is for people to undercut it in the black market situation, and even 6.25% may be a little too high. After all, after we took the sales tax off of alcoholic beverages, Massachusetts ranks at near the bottom in its tax on alcoholic beverages. It generates about $70 million a year in a $38 billion budget. So anybody who thinks that legalizing marijuana, other than being valuable for restoring adult liberty, is going to raise a lot of revenue for the Commonwealth is really mistaken and is lying to you if they're saying so.
Yeah, because it's funny you say that, because I've read it on both ends, and I think it does seem to me to be a freedom issue. It doesn't seem to me to be punitive in any way. It's it's probably good for business. What about the implication? I mean, of do you feel that legalizing it and controlling it helps keep kids from doing it, or do you think that it would expand, or do you think that it would make it more readily available? There's got to be arguments on both sides of that. What are you hearing?
People will make arguments on both sides, but we have data.
Yep.
We have data that since 2008, when Massachusetts decriminalized an ounce or less of marijuana, the age of initiation in marijuana use has gone up, according to the state's biannual survey of at-risk behaviors amongst middle school and high school kids.
Okay.
Use rates have remained statistically stable once they get to high school, and that the sky did not fall when marijuana was recognized as a medicine by the people back in 2012. Now, in addition to the fact that only 21-year-olds can enter those stores, we do provide for punishing those who would provide it to children, like the alcoholic beverage law. We also have built into our law a punishment for those who allow persons underage to use it on their property, just like our alcoholic beverage law. And we provide for punishing an adult who leaves their marijuana unattended or not locked up when they're not home or with it, which would allow their children or foreseeable trespassers to obtain the marijuana.
So that's even that.
These are reasonable regulations designed to keep it out of the hands of children. In addition, we're fixing something that was omitted from the 2008 law. And we're adding, and the AG chose not to put this in the summary because of the lack of space for it, I suppose, but we're fixing the 2008 law by requiring persons under the age of 18 who are cited for possessing an ounce or less of marijuana will have to undergo a substance abuse evaluation by a licensed alcohol and drug counselor, and that evaluation will be provided to the parent and to the child if they're over the age of 16. And if a child is in need of services, we would trust that parents will use that report to encourage their child to follow up with the recommendations made by the licensed alcohol drug counselor, or the parents will be relieved that their teenage child is normal, because the fact of the matter is Most kids graduate from high school without having used marijuana.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to me as
Kids
though,
obey the rules about driving cars and waiting until they have their license.
sure,
Don't just
Stephen,
take mom and
we
dad's
had
keys and go
a,
driving off, and that's an ultra-hazardous activity. You're driving around in a half a ton or more of steel.
we had we do in our town. We have a pretty serious opioid problem, and I think people start to hear about this stuff, and they do get a little bit nervous. So what's all this talk that we hear about gateway drugs and all that kind of stuff?
Well,
What do you think?
gateway drugs, you can look at it the people who call it the gateway effect look at the fact that an opiate abuser or user will report that they tried marijuana before they tried opiates. Yeah, okay. But then you look at the number of people who have tried marijuana compared to the number of people who have tried opiates, and the number of opiate users is so much smaller than those who use marijuana that there's no cause and effect here. In fact, in the states that have ongoing and reputable medical marijuana programs, opiate overdoses are lower than the national average. And in states that don't have ongoing working medical marijuana laws.
I have a email coming in. They wanted to ask you. The email says, Stephen, it sounds like you guys have really covered all your bases. This is probably one of the more intelligent conversations I've heard about this issue. I think the days of everybody going and lighting up joints on the common really set back the cause because of the element that we saw there. Do you have any statistics about who in society is actually smoking pot? And does it differ from what the press tells us?
It doesn't know any particular age. Just last week or the week before, the government was announcing that over the past decade, use by those over the age of 30 or something has doubled. But these are the baby boomers returning to marijuana, particularly in states that allow it medically or allow it for recreational purposes.
Mm-hmm.
It's smoking. The rallies serve their point because they rally the core constituency. But under our law, and even under Boston law, they didn't cite anybody for it. You're not supposed to be smoking anything on the Boston Common.
Sure.
And under our law, public consumption, another thing the Attorney General left out of the summary, under our law, public consumption of marijuana is to be punished no more harshly than the public consumption of alcoholic beverages.
Mm-hmm. No, and you know what? I got a couple more quick ones. I won't take too much of your time. I know you're a busy guy, but I just want to get a couple of these questions into you. This emailer says, again, echoes the other emailer, says there's a lot of rules and regulations that come along with it. They do seem reasonable. I am someone that would be dead set against this, but to be honest with you, listening to the show, maybe it is something that we should think about. Can you please go over the safeguards again to keep this away from children but available to those that are over 21?
Retail sellers have to prevent persons under the age of 21 from entering their premises. There's a secret shopper program, just like there is in the tobacco industry, of sending in underage people, trying to get them in through the door.
Sure.
We punish those who provide it to children. We punish those who allow children to use it on their property. We provide for punishing those who don't secure their marijuana, whether while growing or whether after harvest or after bringing it home from the store, so that Johnny can share it with his friends, or that his friends can steal it from Johnny's parent. All of these things are designed to say that, like driving, this is an activity for adults. It's not an activity for children. Will children still use it? Yes, which is why we're adding the substance abuse evaluation to those who get caught with it, because we want to nip the shoots in the bud of any problems that a child might be having. And a licensed alcohol and drug counselor will recognize two things: an underlying psychiatric situation that needs addressing, or a substance abuse problem unrelated to a underlying psychiatric illness that needs addressing. Either way, as long as we have Obamacare, and either way, as long as we have Mass Health, everybody is able to get this done for them by a licensed alcohol drug counselor, and there are many around the Commonwealth.
You know,
It's a way to keep it away from kids.
yeah, and no, it absolutely is. I'm getting a few more coming in. This one says people get drunk and they go out and beat their wives, but I guess because the politicians all drink, that's okay. But I've never known anybody that smoked weed to beat their wife or go rob a store to get some more.
I never heard of robbing a store, but I have heard of some people who have lost their temper.
Yeah, and what's going to happen now about security around these establishments that are going to be selling this stuff? What is I mean, I know that there's a lot with the medical marijuana. They've got a lot of security issues. I actually saw a special on TV about it. Is there any requirements as far as security, that kind of stuff that you guys are looking at? How are you going to keep this stuff safe?
You don't have to have laws that tell businessmen to protect their money and to protect their inventory from theft. Rational businessmen are going to take all the steps necessary to prevent themselves from being robbed. There's no need for security cameras. The security cameras that DPH has imposed increases the cost. Furthermore, we don't expect anybody is going to be getting rich on this. It's not going to be an extremely expensive product when all is said and done.
Do you think that the price, emailer wants to know, will the price, and I don't know if this email is asking for personal reasons or not, but do you think that this measure will lower, increase, or maintain the price that people are paying on the black market today?
This measure will undercut the existing black market prices.
Okay. Well, there you go.
There were two goals here.
Yeah.
Keep it away from kids and get rid of the black market. And when you stop thinking of this and you stop thinking with the conventional wisdom that we've been hearing for decades about how bad it is and all of this other stuff that is not necessarily true about marijuana, but we swallow, even though William F. Buckley, in a great piece he wrote, may he rest in peace, called Free Weeds, points out some of the fallacies involved. You simply don't make laws based upon one person or even a fairly large number of people falling off the table.
Yeah, no, you know what? It seems like it's
much
not
more colorfully, Gary. You got to look it up.
Absolutely. We definitely will. Look I'm talking here, folks, on the Freedom Network with Stephen Epstein. We've been taking some of your emails. I know there's some more coming. I'll certainly forward those over. He's with Bay State Repeal. Stephen, how do people look you guys up? How can people find you?
It's very easy. Use any search engine you like and type in Bay State Repeal, or type it in all as one word and put .org after it. Right at the top, it says sign the initiative petition, and you can read the proposed law, you can read the AG summary, you can print the petition out, and you can sign it, and you can mail it back into us. We hope we get it by November 12th so we can get organized and get them filed with the respective clerks of the 351 cities and towns.
All right, so it's Bay State, baystaterepeal.org. They can get all the information that you need if that's something that you'd like to learn about or explore or support. I'm sure there's a million different things over there. Anything we're leaving out, Stephen, I'll give you the last word.
Also still existing on our site under the About column are our drafts. And one of the drafts is highly annotated, showing that almost everything in our law comes from existing Massachusetts law, whether it deals with tobacco, alcohol, or firearms. The locking it up when you're not home comes from the firearms law.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's definitely safeguards there. How many signatures you got so far? Where are you guys?
It's it's very hard to say.
Sure.
I think we're approaching around 70,000, and we need about 30,000 more.
Yeah, it looks like if that's the case, looks like you guys would make it.
And
Well,
every day, I'm sending out anywhere from a half a dozen to over a dozen packets of petitions.
Sure.
And like I say, it's available online to download.
they're in our town here in Northbridge where we broadcast out of. They're collecting signatures for it here. I've been notified about that. All right, Stephen Epstein, BayStateRepeal.org. If you want any information.
Gary, I think I sent 3 packages out to Northbridge.
Did you? Yeah, it seems like you guys are everywhere. You're very organized. You're doing a good job for your efforts. We can absolutely say that. So, Stephen, thank you very much for being on the Freedom Network. Check in with us again, will you? We'd love some updates.
Thanks, Gary.
All right, bud. Take care.
Bye.
Bye now. Well, there you go, folks. Stephen Epstein, Bay State Repeal. It's a controversial issue. This is a controversial issue. You know, it's been beat into our heads since if you're my age and older, and you know, it's don't do it. It's a gateway. You smoke a joint, you're going to wind up doing cocaine, and in some cases, it's true. I think if you have that personality and that's what's going to happen to you, you absolutely got to stay away from it. I am. You know, I'm going through all these ballot questions, and I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of stuff going. I mean, there's a lot of ballot questions out there, and there's a lot of thought that I think needs to be put into these ballot questions so you can make an informed and educated decision as to what you think about them and what you think. To Stephen and his group, this is a constitutional issue, and they don't see why you can't. To the other side. And we're going to get all these people on. I've reached out to all of them. I continue to do so. As you know, every week we've had 1 or 2 on for the past couple of weeks, and we'll continue to do so. I think I have another one lined up already for next week. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and I'm going to find the opposition to these people, and we're going to try to get those people on to give a little talk about that. And then as we get closer and closer to election time, we're just going to open this stuff up to anybody that wants to say anything about their cause, whether they're running for something or they're not, or whatever the case may be. We'll just always open it up to that. So, what else is on the ballot? Well, I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of other things on the ballot. Before I talk about that, I want to just get one more email out here. It comes from Richard Gary. Let's see, what do we got here? The Northbridge Republican Town Committee is looking for new members. If you're interested in serving on the committee, please go down to the American Legion Hall, right next to our studios here, on Thursday, 9/29, between 7 and 8 p.m. You must be a registered Republican. If you're an unenrolled voter and interested in serving on the committee, you can be added after the presidential primary election once you change your designation. So if you're unable to come tomorrow, you'd like to be included, you can contact Richard Griggs, and that's at, my eyes are awful. That's at R.P. Griggs, Griggs, at charter.net, or you can call 508-631-7420 before Friday, 11/6. If you want to be involved in this, email me. If you don't have his email, you didn't get all that information, and you want to have more information, email me. I will email you his email address and hook you guys right up. If you want to get involved with the Northbridge Republican Town Council. I said committee, is it council? I'm sorry. I think it's committee though. And I'll make an effort. I will make an effort to get over there and to see. I'm going to be dead honest with you. I'm going to be honest with you. I've not been happy with the Republican Party for a while now. I'm a conservative guy. Those are my politics. I'm a constitutionalist. I'm into freedom. Hence the name of the program. I am into liberty. I'm into equality. I'm into this stuff. I'm into small government. And what happened nationally, which I could not hold the Northbridge Republican Town Committee responsible for, to me was just awful. I was not happy about it. I just wasn't happy about what happened in Washington once they took power. So I think that there is a need to get involved and reinvigorate the party. So if you're not involved and you're a registered Republican, you may want to get involved. If you don't like the way things are going, get involved and change them. It's possible to do. It is possible to do. So it's Richard Griggs. It's the town committee, Northbridge Republican Town Committee. They're looking for members. If you want information, email me, or you can certainly reach out to him. I can get you his information. All right. Woo! Well, that was a quick over half of an hour of time spent talking about ballot questions, emails, Republican committees. You never know where the show's gonna go. I gotta save some time though for some local stuff here. I'm trying. I am trying. Let me run through some of the. Let me run through some of these ballot questions. I'm not going to take too much time with them, but I'm going to run through them. The public funding of abortions would prohibit the public funding that may. Now, look, some of these will be withdrawn or have been withdrawn because they don't pass certain constitutionalities and stuff like that. Others have already been certified. Others are waiting for certification processes. There are far more than the list I got on this paper here. But these were just kind of interesting and noteworthy, so I figured we'd throw them out there. Paid maternity leave, 8 weeks of paid leave. Animal shelter records, they want to require reports to be filed at animal shelters. I guess right now there are no requirements. Why are there no, like, how do you not file a form? I don't, doesn't, it just make, it's amazing, you know, with all the laws. It's kind of interesting, like Stephen had said, you know, sometimes you don't need more and more and more laws. All right, euthanasia of animals. This is going to set formal standards as to when you can do so, when you can euthanize at a shelter. That's probably a good idea, to be quite honest with you, because, you know, in all honesty, animals are, we got to take care of animals if we get them in our possession as human beings. We can't be mean and cruel to things. At the same time, they can't live in a cage that's this big, I understand, but I think maybe in some cases, you know, we could have something, you know, a little better done for them. Oh, let's see. I got something I want to play for you on the Second Amendment. It's 5 minutes, and I don't know if I can get 5 minutes out, but I might be able to. Let me whip through this. We got the farm animals. We had them on the show. If you need information on that, you let me know. This is Anti-Containment Initiative, more free range and larger enclosures. We have End Common Core, which is just about ending Common Core. That's what they want to do. We've had them on the program. Charter schools I'm working on. They want to expand the number allowed in the state by up to 12 more schools. We're going to try to talk to them and see what those implications would be. They want to legalize fireworks, folks. They want to legalize fireworks, and they're trying to get that on. The debate is coming up tonight. The debate is big. You know what I mean? The debate is a big deal. The debate is coming up. No matter what happens, the mainstream media tomorrow will tell you that Trump lost. His poll numbers may increase. I'm just going by the last two. The last two, it's just been the way it's been. Look for the bias in the leading questions from the moderators, especially the liberal extremist John Harwood, who is the last guy that should be doing anything considered even-keeled or unbiased. This just shows you the direction of the debate and how the station and the network will lead the debate where they want it to go and whatnot. It's such a joke. There are two debates. We got Santorum, Jindal, Jindal, and Pataki and Graham. I think it's happening now. It's a snooze fest. And then we got Trump, Carson, Bush, Rubio, Cruz, Huckabee, Paul, Christie, Kasich. Who else? Who am I forgetting? Carly. How could we forget her? I mean, you know, outsiders are in. Bush is done. He said he had better things to do anyway. Did you see that quote? Carson looks good in Iowa, but Trump looks good overall still. You know, they can spin it however they want, but I don't think that they're going to get there. I want to talk to you, and I'm going to have a few minutes to do it, but I want to take a break and play that. I am a big supporter of the Second Amendment. I want you to check something out. Tim found this, and I want to share it with you. So with no further ado, let's take a quick break. We'll be right back on the Freedom Network. Check this out.
My fellow Americans, the left's attack on assault weapons is back. There is no doubt that it's a tragedy when anyone takes the life of another without cause. But to blame assault weapons for these tragedies would be like, well, blaming airplanes for the 9/11 attacks. The problem lies with the perpetrator, not the tool used to commit the crime. The left is now screaming from the rooftops that there is no good reason for any American to own an assault weapon, that they're not good weapons for defense or for hunting. Frankly, they're missing the point. Take it from my philosophical guru and life coach, Ice-T.
You know, the right to bear arms is because that's the last form of defense against tyranny.
That's why fellow rapper Ice-T and I are in poppin' lockstep on gun control, regardless of any East Coast, West Coast rap rivalry. Well, if the advice of a couple of aging rappers isn't enough for you, how about these reasons? Number one, the Constitution. The libs are already saying Chuck's off his meds again, and he's back talking about that old, outdated historical document, the Constitution. Doesn't he get it that it doesn't apply today? Sorry to break it to you, but as of right now, the Constitution is still the law of the land. And since we are a nation of laws, not men, we need to follow it carefully. Number two, the Second Amendment allows for assault weapons. The left argues that the Founding Fathers didn't even know what an assault weapon was. As usual, this argument's wrong again. To say that the Constitution limits the kinds of guns we can own would be like saying it also limits the kinds of religion people can practice. How would it be if some people thought you could practice Catholicism, but not Scientology? Our Founding Fathers wanted every citizen to be armed equal to the Army in case of takeover by a tyrannical government. They wanted us to have protection from them. How would things have been different in Nazi Germany had the people been armed? Think about the protesters that have been killed by their own government in Iran. An armed society would not have that problem. Number three, assault weapons act as a deterrent against foreign invasion. During World War II, the Emperor of Japan instructed his commanders to plan an invasion of America. He felt very empowered after Pearl Harbor and believed our military to be very weak, which at the time it was. The commander-in-chief of the Japanese Navy, Isoroku Yamamoto, told the emperor, and I quote, "You cannot invade the mainland of the United States. There would be a rifle behind every blade of grass." Notice, he did not talk about fearing the U.S. Army. It was the American people that he feared. Eventually, Yamamoto would stop trying to attack us and instead started selling us terrific fishing lures, which I'm a big fan of. It is the fact that there is a gun behind every blade of grass that prevents any other country from even thinking about invading our nation. Take away the assault rifles, and you have weakened that defense. Number four, there's already a ban on assault rifles. Well, you don't hear that very much, but there has been tight controls on assault rifles since 1934. Well, how can that be? The U.S. military defines an assault rifle as something that can fire intermediate power cartridges on selective fire. For you girly men watching, that means automatic fire, like a machine gun. The left invented the term assault weapon to describe rifles that bear some similarity to real assault rifles, like this one. This way, they can make it against the law to own a gun that looks like an assault weapon. Really? Is it against the law to look like something else? In that case, shouldn't Henry Waxman be arrested for resembling Ratatouille? Number five, handguns kill people too. Some nut jobs claim that assault weapons are too dangerous. Really? So you find a Glock 40 caliber is just to be a little dangerous? All guns are deadly in the wrong hands. And number six, we need the jobs. The gun industry employs 184,000 people. And these are good paying jobs averaging $45,000 a year. A ban on so-called assault weapons will result in laying off thousands of these workers. But of course, that's no big deal since we don't have an unemployment problem. Crazed criminals shooting up innocent people is a tragedy. But all the gun bans in the world will not stop them. Criminals will always find the weapons they need to carry out their crimes. The only people that will be going unarmed are the law-abiding citizens like you and me. When you hear people talk about banning assault weapons, know that the real assault weapon is the liberal media. They are attacking your constitutional rights. It's a slippery slope. First it will be assault weapons, then ammunition, then handguns, and on and on and on. I'm Chuck Woolery, trying to save the Constitution, one amendment at a time.
Interesting piece, for sure. Definitely an interesting piece. You've found us back here on the Freedom Network. Gary Rosenberg here, talking politics with you, talking about all different kinds of things. Got to include some gun stuff. Still working on that, couple of guests for that gun show, but I've already got one lined up. I'm waiting for one more. Did want to shout out some new viewers. We've got new viewers Jeff, we've got new viewer James, we've got new viewer Ryan, and we already established earlier we have new viewers Lauren and McKenna watching. They're not all watching together. I think Lauren and McKenna are watching together. I think Jeff, James, and Ryan are all watching separately. Now that we've got that all out of the way, let's talk about real quick, because we've only got about 6 minutes here, I guess, left, or so. I don't want to go over. If I go over, it just gets shut off anyway. They just shut me off. So I was at the town meeting last night, had to withdraw the sex offender law that we wanted there because it was just deemed unconstitutional by the state in other towns. So why would we pass one like that? But I went and I sat through the thing, and let me tell you, you learn, you live, you listen. I am not going to read this entire thing to you. I absolutely will not do it. Looks like $113,000 went over to the schools. There's a lot of stuff. I'm not going through every number, but there are a few things that I wanted to toss out there. What I don't understand is that the Finance Committee, first of all, I don't know if we have anyone listening from the Finance Committee. I don't know if anyone can comment on this or was willing to comment on this. You don't have to do it live. You can reach out to me via email, find me out on Facebook. If you want to just why do you vote unanimously on everything? Why? Is it that it needs to be unanimous and you work until you get a unanimous consensus among the committee? Because I have to plead ignorance. I don't know. But if it's not that, I got a huge problem with that. Why is every single person lockstep on the committee? Why? As I go through this thing, from the first thing to the set, it doesn't matter. The finance unanimously, whether they're passing over it, recommending passage, whatever it is, it's unanimous. I don't think that there's any case that there wasn't. If there was, maybe there was one. I don't think there was. So my feeling is that this has got to be some kind of a rule, right? There's got to be a rule. You got to come. Maybe it's like a for the death penalty or something. I don't know. It's got to be unanimous. I don't understand. I don't know. All I know is I'm reading the thing and it stood out to me. It was like they might as well have highlighted it. I mean, if we have representation, right? So we should have different ideas. So there's got to be a point where someone says, no, I don't like this idea, and I'm not going to go along with it. So you got to make me understand this. I've been asking and asking and asking. It just seems to me that it's a weird thing. Doesn't it seem weird to you? Doesn't it? If you have a finance committee that everybody would agree on every vote of recommendation or not recommending, unless they have to. And if they have to, I stand corrected and I'll move on. But what do you think? Can somebody tell me? I know there's a vast network of local people that watch this show. Get in there and tell me. Somebody email me and let me know what the deal is here. All right, they did some maintenance. They did this. They spend money. They move money. They push money. They pulled money. Let's see. With the library got its name. Officially, it's the same name. This is what really blew me away. I had to get up and ask a question on this one. I don't understand this for the life of me. But the town they wanted to know if we would vote to accept a donation of land. 50 acres of land are going to be donated to us. Come on. Who donates land? Who just gives it away? And what is the cost implication? And that was my we don't know what is on this land. Are we getting stuck with something? Did they find something out about their land and say, hey, well, let's give it to the town? What research has been done? What has been going on? This was a really weird one for me. What are we going to do with the land? What happens? Do we sell it? Can we make money on it? I just was not getting an understanding, and I wasn't certainly going to sit there and continue to ask and ask. I will say that the moderator was great. He really was. He let everybody speak that had to speak. I wasn't gavelled down, as we remember many years ago. But hey, you know what? If I wasn't gavelled down, I wouldn't be here doing the show. I'd probably be at another another facility doing the show. So the government has themselves to blame for bringing me here. Anyway, it just seems very strange to me, and I don't, the moderator did have to push a little bit to the town manager to get some clarification as to who actually owned it, which I appreciated that he did. So I'm always there to say that they do something wrong. I wanted to say that I thought that the moderator did a really good job with that. But who does that? Who does that? Who gives 50 acres away? Is it useless land? If it's useless to them, it's useless to us. What if someone gets hurt on it? What if there's a fire on it? What if there's, I don't know, a million things could happen, but what the heck do we want it for? But you got it. You got it. You got it. It's yours. They voted that in. 120 people, odd, give or take a couple, 120. How many people are registered to vote in this town? Are you registered to vote in this town? Did you go to the town meeting? You can't always go to every meeting. I can go to very few. I try to go to the ones where I can vote. If there's a point and an option for me to vote, I want to go in case it's something I want to vote for or against. Many times I don't vote anything. You got 100 people there. They all know which way they're voting. It's predetermined. The people, you could tell by the yays and the nays. It's all yays. It's one guy yelling nay. That's what it was. So so if you want to make change, if you want to challenge this stuff, you got to get your butt down there, and you got to do it. You got to do it. Let's see. I got an email. They don't always vote unanimous. All right, but did they in this book? Am I missing something? Am I missing something? And I'm okay if I am. But how do they vote unanimously on every single thing? The building construction thing was very strange. It was in here and then asked to be passed over. I'm going to talk about that on a future show because I found out some information on it, but I don't have time to get into it here. So I'll just have to tease you with that. But approaching 55 minutes after the hour, I got to make way. I mean, if you don't want to listen to the same old junk in the debate and listen to the liberals over there on the station do their thing, if you don't want to do that, you're going to listen to 3 and 11. They're coming right on up. I'm sure they'll be a little more interesting than listen to some left-wing guy lead a bunch of right-wing guys where he wants them to go. My name is Gary Rosenberg. This is the Freedom Network. I'll see you next week.
Oh, say